All right, welcome. Today we're going to do something a little different. We're taking a deep dive, a really cinematic, verse-by-verse journey through an ancient letter, the first chapter of Second Thessalonians. And the whole point here is to walk through this in a way that makes it stick, creating a picture in your mind that's just impossible to forget. So you ready? Let's get into it.
You know, this whole chapter really boils down to a question I think we've all asked ourselves at some point. How does hope survive when life gets hard? I mean, when you feel like you're facing pressure from every single side, where do you find the strength, not just to hang on, but to actually grow? This letter, written thousands of years ago, has a pretty powerful and honestly unexpected answer.
So, before we jump into the first verse, it's super important to remember what this actually is. This isn't some abstract theological textbook. It's a letter, a really personal, heartfelt letter from three friends to a community that they just care about so deeply. All right, verse 1. Let's paint the picture. I want you to imagine this scene with me. Three travelers. They look tired, but they are so determined. It's Paul, Silvanus, and Timothy. They're huddled over a piece of parchment, maybe by the light of a single candle. You can see on their faces there's concern, for sure, but also this deep, deep affection. They're not writing to strangers. They're writing to family. Okay, moving on to verse 2. This is their greeting. But listen, this is way more than just a simple, "Hey, how's it going?" Picture this, a warm, golden light just pouring down from the heavens, and it washes over these chaotic, bustling city streets. And as this light touches people, you can literally see the tension leaving their shoulders. A visible sense of calm, of relief just spreads through the crowd. That's the grace and peace they're sending. It's a divine calm right in the middle of chaos. All right, so after that incredible greeting, Paul doesn't waste any time. He just jumps right in. He gets to the heart of why he's writing, and it's to tell the Thessalonians that their strength, their endurance under pressure has become famous. It's legendary. So verse 3, and this is where we get this amazing picture. Think about a tiny little seedling, right? And it's trying to grow in this cracked, bone-dry ground. It looks impossible, but then all of a sudden, it doesn't just grow. It just explodes. It becomes this huge, vibrant tree, and its branches are overflowing with fruit. That's how Paul describes their faith and love. See, they weren't just getting by, they were absolutely thriving. And what's the result of all that? We see it right here in verse 4. Now imagine Paul. He's standing in front of a bunch of other church leaders, and he's not just talking about the Thessalonians. He is literally boasting, like he's holding up this huge, glowing trophy for everybody to see, and you can just imagine the words carved into it. Thessalonian patience and faith. They had become the gold standard. So you see what's happening here? It's this incredible contrast. On one side, you've got all this intense pressure, persecutions, tribulations, suffering. But on the other side, you get this incredible result. Faith that's growing like crazy, love that's overflowing, and a patience that's literally famous. The crazy thing is, all that pressure, it wasn't crushing them. No way. It was forging something beautiful. And this all leads to a really crucial point in verse 5. Their suffering wasn't for nothing. It was actually evidence of something amazing. Okay, for this verse, picture a courtroom. You've got a divine judge and he slams down the gavel. But instead of some punishment, a golden ticket just appears in front of the person who's been suffering. And written on it, just one word, worthy. Their ability to endure was proof positive they belonged to God's kingdom. Okay, so right here, the letter takes a huge turn. Paul shifts from talking about their endurance now to a future where justice is made perfect. It's what you could call the great reversal. And verse 6 gets right to the heart of it. So picture a giant cosmic set of scales. You know the scales of justice? And one side is weighed down, totally unbalanced by a block labeled trouble given. And then you just watch as this unseen, powerful hand comes and places an identical weight on the other side, bringing the scales into perfect, satisfying balance. Justice, Paul is saying, is absolutely coming. All right, get ready, because this is where the letter builds to its absolute cinematic climax. Paul is about to paint a picture of the future that's designed to be the ultimate answer to everything they're going through. So verse 7 shows us one side of this huge event. Imagine people just huddled together, caught in this terrible, violent storm. They're freezing, they're exhausted, they're soaked to the bone. And then suddenly, a doorway just opens up in the middle of the storm, and on the other side is a calm, sunlit garden. And there are these figures made of light welcoming them in, into a place of total peace and rest. That is the promise for those who are in trouble.
But then, verse 8 flips the script. It's a total contrast. For the people who caused all that trouble, the picture is completely different. A powerful warrior king, surrounded by brilliant flaming fire, appears in the sky. And his face, it's not about rage. It's about absolute authority. It's about perfect, righteous justice. This is the moment of reckoning. Verse 9 lays out the consequences, and it's stark. Picture a huge, beautiful, ornate door. Behind it is a realm of just blinding light and joy, the very presence of God. And then we just watch as this door slowly, deliberately closes, and it leaves those who rejected it on the outside in a complete and silent darkness. The punishment here is separation from the source of all life and light. And then, bam, in verse 10, the camera snaps right back to the believers. I want you to see this massive crowd, people from every corner of the earth. Their faces are just filled with pure awe and wonder. And they're reflecting the brilliant light of this glorious figure before them. They're like a giant sea of mirrors, all reflecting his brilliance. He is being glorified in them. His magnificent character is perfectly reflected in his people. Wow. So after that huge cosmic vision, Paul does something really important. He brings it all right back down to earth. He doesn't just leave them daydreaming about the future. He gives them a purpose for today, and it's all wrapped up in a powerful prayer.
So he wraps up with this prayer. You'll see it in verses 11 and 12. And this isn't just some casual, hope you're well kind of prayer. No, this thing is packed with purpose. He's praying that God would give them the power to live up to this incredible calling they have, not just someday, but right now.
And if you look closely, this prayer basically breaks down into 4 key parts. First, to be made worthy. This is about God shaping their character to match this high calling. Second, to fulfill God's goodness, which is about God bringing every good intention and desire they have to completion. Third, to empower your faith, a prayer for every single action they take out of faith to be supercharged with divine power. And all of this, every single part, points to the final goal, to glorify the name. So what does that actually mean? To be glorified? Well, it means that the name, the very character and reputation of Jesus, would be perfectly displayed and recognized in them. The idea is that when people looked at these Thessalonians, they'd see a perfect reflection of him. And then, amazingly, Paul says they would be glorified in him, sharing in his honor.
And that brings us to the final, really powerful question that this whole chapter leaves us with. You see, it's not just about something that's going to happen way off in the future. It's about right now. So if the whole point is for his glory to be seen in you, what does that actually look like today?